When I hear budget 4K camera, I immediately think under $1,000. After a thorough research online and from using this camera for a few months, I strongly feel the Panasonic G7 is the best budget 4K camera, coming in at under $700. Those familiar with cameras may be wondering why I'm not recommending this Sony a6300. It comes in right under $1,000, so it's budget, and it produces excellent 4K quality content. But even with the most recent firmware upgrade to this camera is still having overheating issues and it's not reliable. Therefore, I cannot recommend it, and especially if you're using it for paid jobs. The Panasonic G7 is by no means an end-all be-all camera, but it has a lot of features that will satisfy budget 4K filmmakers. And in addition, for consumers who want 4K content of their family, friends, and pets, it will also satisfy them too. And remember, this camera is under $700 with a kit lens, so it's extremely affordable. I can give you 10 reasons why this is a great camera. Starting with number 1, when I was looking for a 4K camera, it had to have a microphone input where I could plug in a wireless mic, a shotgun mic, or a lavalier mic. Having good audio quality is just as important or even more important than having good video quality. If you have a video that has bad audio, it will immediately turn people off. This camera has a microphone input and a hot shoe adapter where I can slide in a shotgun mic on the top of the camera. In addition, I have the ability to manually control the audio levels in camera. Another feature I was looking for was a pop-out articulating LCD screen. I'm a one-man band and I need the screen to pop out and flip towards me so I can see myself while I'm recording. In addition, the articulating screen allows me to shoot with the camera at different angles, either at high or low angles. And also, if I'm recording video outside, I can angle the screen away from the sun so there's no nasty glare on the screen, and this makes filmmaking a lot easier. Going along with being able to see what I'm recording, this camera also has an electronic viewfinder so I can see exactly what I'm recording without any interference from the sun. Part of filmmaking is being able to use different lenses to achieve different effects, such as shallow depth of field and focal lengths. This micro four thirds camera allows you to use interchangeable micro four thirds lenses. In addition, with an adapter or speed booster, you can use your existing Canon or Nikon glass. Next, let's talk about the video quality of this camera. The Panasonic G7 offers 4K video at 24 and 30 frames per second. If you are familiar with its older brother, the Panasonic GH4, surprisingly this camera offers similar video quality at half the price. One area where the Panasonic G7 actually shines over the Panasonic GH4 is at high ISOs, such as ISO 3200 and 6400. If you would like to see some low light tests and some other test footage, click on the video card on the top right of your screen. This camera has both automatic and manual exposure and focus controls. So you can have the camera automatically focus on the closest subject, or you can use the tap to focus feature to make focusing really simple. If you want full control like most filmmakers do, you can switch the camera to manual focus mode and focus manually. Exposure works the same way. You can have auto exposure or you can take full control and set it to manual exposure. Going along with manual focus, this camera also has focus peaking, which allows you to visually see what's in focus on your screen. So now while you're manual focusing, you no longer have to guess if your object is in focus or if it's not in focus. On the screen, it will now highlight which part of your object is in focus. Another nice feature this camera has is called zebras. This visually shows you on your screen which parts are potentially clipping or are overexposed. And this will allow you to make the proper adjustments without looking at your histogram. There are a variety of picture styles you can choose from, and you can fine-tune the contrast, sharpness, noise reduction, and saturation of each. In addition, there are flat picture styles like Natural, cinelike-d, and cinelike-v, which are good for color grading in post. Lastly, this camera offers long record times. I can record up to 29 minutes before the camera stops and I have to restart it. And on a full charge, I can record about an hour and a half of 4K video, and I have never had any issues with overheating. In addition, the file sizes are manageable. So for about an hour recording a 4K video, it takes about 40 gigabytes. Now I don't want to paint this camera as all sunshine and roses. There are some flaws with this camera. After all, you are only paying $700 for it, so it can't have everything. But I feel for the features it packs, we can get around these flaws. My first issue is there's no headphone jack to monitor audio in real time. Second, if you will be using the autofocus feature, the autofocus will be a little bit slow from time to time, and also it may do some focus hunting, so it may not immediately focus on your subject. My third issue is this camera has a micro 4/3 sensor, so that means whatever lens you put on this camera, you're going to get a 2x crop. So for example, if I add a 24mm lens to this camera, I'm automatically going to be positioned at 48mm. Now, if you saw my Canon 5D Mark IV rant video, you know I complained about the crop factor. Now, I feel this situation is a little bit different. This is just going to be a dedicated video camera, and there are ways to get around it. Panasonic offers wider lenses, so for example, you can buy the Panasonic 12 to 35mm lens at f2.8, and that will be equivalent to a 24 to 70mm lens, which is more standard. Now, if you add the price of that lens and the camera body, it's still going to equal less than a Canon 5D Mark IV, and also the more expensive Sony 4K camera. Or you can use a speed booster, which will give you a wider field of view. It will let in more light, it will give you a shallow depth of field, and it will also allow you to use your existing Nikon and Canon glass. Another issue with this camera is it doesn't shoot cinema 4K. It only shoots ultra high definition. And lastly, the door that opens to the SD card and battery, it's positioned too close to the tripod mount. So that means when I want to access the battery and the SD card and I want to remove it, I often have to remove my camera from the tripod, and that's a little of an inconvenience. So those are the inconveniences I have experienced while using this camera, but they really don't hinder my workflow. Now, if any one of those 5 issues are an absolute deal breaker, just don't buy this camera. But otherwise, for the positive features it has and for the price, I think it's a great camera to have. There is a link in the description below to where you can buy one of these cameras, along with some recommended accessories and lenses. If in any way I was able to help you make this purchase or help you decide on this camera, I would really appreciate it if you bought that camera with the link I gave you, because I earn a little commission and that allows me to make free content for you guys on YouTube. I would be happy to answer any questions you have in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or a share. And also click on that red subscribe button right down below to be notified when I post my next photo or video tutorial.